that ziyarat and connecting to those qualities too, so that we also become that. That's why you will find many of the ziyarat, there are du'as there in the ziyarat, right? Particularly in the ziyarat Ashura, there are so many du'as in comparison to other ziyarat that is there. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
It is very important as well to reflect upon the couplets, upon the verses of the ziyarat as well. Now, as we are in the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Husain, especially ziyarat of the Arba'een, which is highly pushed and recommended to be recited, what contains in the ziyarat name? What is in there in the ziyarat name? Just like how the dua is a methodology to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ziyarat is also a methodology by which we connect to the teachings of the Masumi, of that person that we are visiting, through which we connect to Allah. Through them. Through Masumi, through that vision which the Masumi is giving, we take that vision and we connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sole purpose is tawheed. The sole purpose is that qurb. The sole purpose is that connection. Through that Masumi, Now, in the Ziyarat Name, for example, in the Ziyarat Arba'in of Imam Husain alayhi salam, I recommend all of our youngsters to reflect and read in English, the Ziyarat, to understand it. There's a line which says that Husain have sacrificed his life to revive the aql of Bashar, to revive the intellect of humanity. That's the purpose of the sacrifice of Imam Husain. So that the aql, so that the intellect is revived, that we become intellectual, that we understand. A person who doesn't understand Tawheed is not an intellectual person. And this is clearly reflected in the actions of theirs. Like, for example, Musa and Pharaoh. Musa is teaching Tawheed. Musa is saying, I have nothing to do with you. Give my Bani people and I leave. You will be the king. Right? And he's preaching about Tawheed, about Torah. But the aql of Pharaoh is so little that when Musa jumps into, miraculously into the river of Nile, and he parts the river, parts the sea, and he passes, if there was a person who is a child, he would not dare going inside there. Only a dumb person will jump, in there. So that's how he died, right? So when a person moves away from Tawheed, that person becomes less and less in terms of his intent, in terms of his aql, which is, I don't want to get into the definition of what aql is and whatnot, the philosophical discussions about aql. But just an example. So Imam Husain in the Ziyarat Arba'in says that he wants to revive that, that aql, so that we have that clear vision and understanding of that thought, of what sacrifice is, of what, like how Brother Qamar have pointed out, to not to just get stuck with certain ritual practices and not realize the purpose of what Imam Husain wants us to, where Imam Husain wants us to take. In the couple of beginning of the ziyarat of Imam Husain alayhi salam of Arba'in, we recite that Assalamu ala asirul qurbat wa qatil al-abarat. Greetings and salutations to the Imam who was asir, means who was imprisoned in qurbat, in sort of turmoils and difficulties. So yes, it may sound very emotional, because it always have that aspect, and one of the best way of preaching, opening the heart, making people understand, is through that emotionality, not sentimentality. There are two things. Sentiments are different, emotions are different. Emotions are more valuable and also universal. Sentimentals are personal. This glasses could be, I may not be very emotional with these glasses, but I could be very sentimental because it belongs to my father. But there's nothing to do with you, because it's a sentiment. Emotionality meaning that, for example, this cloth we are all attached to, and I'm very emotional about. If somebody does anything to that, we're all gonna jump and protect and save it. That is emotionality. Sentimentality is very personal. And emotionality is a vehicle and is a medium which is the quick and more swift even than the aql. Because aql I always tend to calculate. This is a cloth, with some names, If somebody disrespects is what, try to calculate. And I should protect myself, it's wajib to protect my honor. If somebody is doing something, I know it's wajib for me. My aql calculates. But emotion doesn't. If somebody does something, we're just going to jump and try to protect. That's emotionality. And just very quickly, one of the reasons why Amir al-Mu'mineen have criticized women of lacking aql, it is true, because they are emotional. And emotions is the swiftest vehicle to reach Allah. And the Prophet says that use emotions to reach Allah, because it's the heart. Because women are full of heart. So that's not actually a criticism, but actually pointing out the reality of women. That they are emotional. They lack in terms of their intellectuality. Men are intellectual. When we become intellectual, we tend to calculate. When we start calculating, we miss out on the truth. People joined Imam Husain alayhi salam because of that emotionality and attachment of love. Right? For example, people come and tell Imam Husain alayhi salam that saving life is important. Or Imam Husain alayhi salam is saying, go, I have taken my bay'ah, Jannat is promised for you, I will give the shafaat of Rasulullah on the night of Ashura, and he says, leave. It's not wajib on you to sacrifice your life. I have taken my bay'ah. And also you have done great, good job. And you leave, and you will get the Jannah. They say, no. If there was a person who was a clever person, he would say, okay, Jannah to mil rahi hai, वही तो हम उसके वास्ते तो गए थे इमाम हुसैन के पास, तो उन्होंने तो गारंटी दे दी है, जन्नत तो मिल जाएगी, will get the Jannah. And I have to save my life, it's wajib to save my life. Thank you, Imam Husain. Okay, we'll leave. But they did not leave. That's the emotion. That's the heart.
لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين نعرہ حیدری.
So it is that heart, and usually heart travels. I had mentioned this earlier as well. Jibreel stopped Sidratul Muntaha. Jibreel said, I cannot go any more further. If I go any further, my wings will burn. Jibreel is the Aql Rasul. And what went after that is the Qalb Rasul, which reached to that nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When that Qalb Rasul have went, then Allah spoke to Ali in the lahja of Ali. And Allah spoke to Rasul in the lahja of Ali. Because it's the heart of Rasul.
نعرہ حیدری.
So, heart is very important. That's why the Quran also says, Qalbin Salim, a heart which is tranquil. Soul is also have a synonym of heart. Ya Ayatul Nafsil Mutmainna. Right? That's why Imam Husain's journey is purely a journey of ishq.
Bismillah.
It's purely a journey of the heart. And that's why it pulls. Love is a journey of the heart. So, just in, when people tend to criticize and use that khutbah, of Imam Ali alayhi salam about emotion, women doesn't have an aql, that's something natural. That's how women are. They are very emotional. So it should be not taken out of context in the sense that, this is something else. Salat ala Muhammad wa
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So this element of love that is there in tashayyu is very important. In kuntum tuhibbuna Allah fattabi'uni. Yuhibbukum Allah. Allah will love you as well. If you really love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, follow the Rasul. Whatever Rasul is doing, follow that. And then when you follow exactly what Rasul is doing, the journey of Rasul, as we just said, was journey of the heart. Husainu minni wa ana min Husain. Right? How can that be intellectually possible? Right? It's pure heart. So, if you love Allah, then follow Rasul. And then, when you follow Rasul, Allah will also love you. There's an element of that love.
Subhanallah.
Hal ad-din illa al-hub. Is religion anything other than love? That's what the sixth Imam says. So the whole sacrifice of Imam Husain, in the pivotal reality of it, in the center of this whole sacrifice of Imam Husain is that emotionality, is that element of love there. That's why it has survived so much, and it will survive forever because of that love. So when we are talking about love, there will be, conflict, there will be atrocities, tragedy. That's what, makes us emotional. That's what makes us cry, and that's why crying becomes very important. Now here, Asirul Qurabat, when we are saying that, it is pointing out to that, that he's been Vitral Mautur, the lonely one, left all alone. Brings that sadness, sorrow, love, that all alone. Or for example, Qatilul Abarat, the one who'd been killed for tears. One translation, Qatilul Abarat, in another hadith, he himself said, Ana Qatilul Abarat. One is, I've been killed for tears, meaning that the Bani Umayyah, when they were doing Majlis and Matam with the shirt of Uthman, crying, and they came to take the revenge of killing of Uthman as a propaganda from Imam Husain alayhi salam. So I've been killed because of those tears that the Bani Umayyah have shed, and they are taking the revenge. That's one meaning. The ulama have a commentary of Aisadat where it points out. Number two, Ana Qatilul Abara in the Ziyarah Arba'in that we recite, Asirul Qurabat wa Qatilul Abara, they say that it could be Ibrat, because there was no vowels being put in there, Abara or Ibara, So I've been killed in order that I be a lesson for the humanity, a dars of Haqq and Batil. Right? So it's an Ibrat. In the murder of Imam Husain, there's an Ibrat. That's why Imam Husain, Ana Qatilul Ibara. It's not Abara. Abara, which the third meaning is that no, I've been killed for the tears, meaning that the mu'mineen should cry for me. And through this crying, there will be salvation of yours. That's why just a tear for Imam Husain alayhi salam that sits, Abara also from an encyclopedic dictionary of a point of view, it even says that not the tears that flows, even that tear sits inside the eye is also known as Abara. Right? So I've been killed in this fashion that the people will cry, and through this crying there will be salvation. That's why in the hadith it says that if a person sheds a tear which is equivalent to a wing of a mosquito, the person's sins of the past and of the future will be forgiven. See, the value of everything is based upon the presence of forgiveness and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in it. Everything is valuable because of how much of the presence of forgiveness and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in there. The mother is valuable because the presence of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater in it, in comparison, for example, to the adl and justice, which is the father. Right? That's why the value of the mother, Quran points out to, and parents both, but Prophet have claims that when mom calls father, all of that. So what I'm trying to say is point out to a principle, which is if there is mercy and forgiveness in that aspect, because mothers tend to forgive quicker than fathers, right? That aspect is there, then that becomes valuable. Because Allah is Rahman. Called Allah or Adur Rahman or Allah. It's mercy. Why does the night of Qadr becomes most valuable? Because the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is at full blast. That's why that night becomes a lot of people. Why the month of Ramadan? Because a lot of people are being forgiven. That's why that month is valuable. That night is valuable. So the tear of Imam Husain and the Majlis of Imam Husain becomes valuable because in a Majlis, a lot of forgiveness and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there.
Subhanallah. Narae Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Narae Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Narae Risala. Narae Haidari. Ye Muhammad wale Muhammad Balantar Salaba.
So there's the tear when Imam Husain is pointing out to that I've been killed for tears is for that Majlis. That we gather and we cry. But this tear should bring that revolution, should bring that change. And if you look at it, I don't want to get into too much of philosophy. What is a tear? What element it is? It's an element which is water. And water always transforms. Water becomes vapor. I was traveling to America recently, and I took an airline that stops in Iceland. I was sitting with an Italian physics teacher, who used to teach physics, professor. And now he stopped that, but he's making documentaries now. And he was making a documentary on the reports of how creation was created in the metaphysical traditions, in religions, and also comparing that to the physical findings of the Big Bang and what happened and what not. And he was traveling to Iceland to interview the head of the Celtic, clan or priest, to see what the Celtics say about how the creation was created, right? Because in every religion there's a discussion in regards to how the creation was created. So, and then as he was a physics teacher, and he was talking about, what we have in terms of the creation is the Big Bang. That's the telescope can go until there, but there was something before Big Bang as well. And they say that based on the analysis that the scientists, they say that before Big Bang, it was liquid. Because liquid have that element, or liquid have that substance within it to transform. That for something to transform to a bang must be a liquid. This liquid could have become vapors, and this vapors change into a bang. That's his type of shedding light towards, because we cannot see before bang, because the telescope can only go till there. But there was something before bang. So what was there before bang? So most likely it is some form of a liquid, because liquid is the only element that can transform to vapors, to something else. It is latif, as we would put. It could take any form, shape, right? And when we are talking about liquid, the Quran also, I kind of discussed, and I said, yes, Quran says that everything God brought from the water, from that liquid. The whole creation is created from that. So now the tear, have that element of transformation. Is that liquid? Is that? And the throne of Allah sits on water, according to Hadith. It says that the throne, Arsh of al-Rahman, is sitting on water. Water is symbolized as knowledge. Water, if somebody sees in a dream that is drinking water, the interpretation of that dream is that your knowledge will increase if you see drinking water. Or if you are swimming in an ocean, they say your knowledge will increase. Because the throne of Allah sits on knowledge. The throne is control, and everything that is control is through ilm, through knowledge. Now this tear, that I've been killed for tears, perhaps may have that element, which means that this is knowledge, this is understanding, this is love, and this is transformation. The tear of Husain should transform, and it does transform. All what we have learned and what we have become is because of the barakat of the Majlis of Imam Husain. The whole Mimbar is a university for us in terms of history, in terms of philosophy, in terms of akhlaq, in terms of our emotionality, So therefore, it's a transformation through these tears. So Husain, Asirul Qurabat wa Qatilul Abara, is that have been killed for that tears. So through these tears, that there be a transformation. And through these tears is an indication of that mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because emotionality brings about mercy, brings love. And through this love there is nijat. Through this love we are saved. That's why in every, Sheikh Abdul Karim Hairi, the one who established the Hawza of Qom, he would give his lesson, his classes, and at the end of his class he will read a bit of Masaeb of Imam Husain. That was his habit. He would do that. All of the ulama of ours, they all emphasize so much in the Masaeb of Imam Hussain. It's one of the swiftest and quickest medium and vehicle towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards purification. Remembering the Masaeb of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. And the actions and the Masaeb of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, which I don't really want to get into, are so powerful that it has very deep meaning apart from just being emotional as well. Right? For example, when Qasim says, when the uncle asks, how is death to you? It's a very emotional, but there's so much of deeper meaning in it that he says is much sweeter than honey. It's been 1,300 odd years. This one sentence, ek jumla, Hazrat Qasim ka, abhi tak. Or har dafa, whenever we reflect upon it, is so powerful. So apart from being emotional, and even the way of atrocities that has happened, there's so much meaning in that. You know, Fustu bi Rabbil Kaaba. Why Amirul Mu'minin is saying that? It's very emotional. You may cry for it. But that means when Ali was saying Subhana Rabbil A'la wa bihamdih, he had no clue at all that there's somebody who will want to hear. He knows that. He wakes him up. He knows. But when he is saying Subhana Rabbil A'la wa bihamdih, there's nothing but Subhana Rabbil A'la wa bihamdih. When that comes, for Subhana Rabbil Kaaba, what a great honor. And I didn't even know that somebody's going to hit me. I knew from before, but when I was saying A'la wa bihamdih, it's A'la wa bihamdih. There's nothing other than that. Then this comes on my head. And so, oh wow, this is so good. Right? That's what it is. So many a times, it's always very important to reflect. We kind of pass through the maqatil and the Masaeb part, in the Masaeb only. But it's important to look at the deeper meaning of these Masaeb. Why this happened in this fashion? What was that smile? Fatabassama, as it's there on the chest of Husain. Shimmer was on the chest of Husain. And then in the end, just before the head of Husain was severed, Husain smiled. What is this smile? It's been looked at in an emotional way. The same applies in regards to the Masaeb. Right? And through remembering those Masaeb, we want to connect to the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam emotionally. And in the end of every discussion, the ulama discuss the Masaeb of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Sayyid Ali Qazi would say that every Thursday night you should have a Majlis of Imam Hussain. Even if there is nobody, bring your children, sit with them and do Masaeb of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Because he says whatever we have in regards to Tawheed is through Hussain. It's through Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Right? It's to Quran, and for him it was Ziyarah Ashura and Quran. That's what he emphasized, Sayyid Ali Qazi. And he was known to be the champion of Tawheed, in terms of his, according to Allama Tabatabai. So the Masaeb of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Allama Shustari had a dream in which he sees Siddiqa Kubra Fatima Zahra. In the dream, the lady says that, oh Sheikh, you don't read the Masaeb of Hussain. Sheikh says, I read the Maqtal, the whole Maqtal, how and what happened, and how Imam Hussain was shot, three-headed arrow, and how he fell, and all that. Then the lady says that no, this was not the Masaeb of Hussain. And what was the Masaeb of Hussain? The lady says that the Masaeb of Hussain was when Hussain was doing Khudafisi to Sakinah. That was the greatest musibat for Hussain. That it was not easy. That in few hours she will become an orphan. Sakinah will become an orphan. And Hussain, about to leave, the steed is not moving forward. The Zuljana stopped. And Hussain communicates with the horse. Once again, this is a very deep philosophy here, communicating with the animals. And Hussain is speaking to the animal. And he says, "Oh Zuljana, I know you're tired. I know you have gone to the battlefield many times, and we have come back with the bodies of the Shuhada. But oh Zuljana, I guarantee you that this is a ride that will go and will not come back." Zuljana is saying something with his head, and he points out to that there's a little girl who's holding the legs of Zuljana and not allowing the Zuljana to move. Hussain looks at, and it is the little Sakinah who's holding the legs of Zuljana. Hussain quickly gets down and picks up Sakinah, and he says that, "Oh Sakinah, you have to be patient. you will become orphan. There will be Masaeb that you will face. As soon as the father says orphan, Sakinah says, oh father, can you be kind in the same way as you were kind when the news of Muslim ibn Aqil was killed, and how you were kind to the daughters of Muslim ibn Aqil? In a very special way, because I asked you that why are you so kind to the daughters of Muslim ibn Aqil, and then I said that, and then you said that they have become orphan, and that's how orphans are treated. Now you're saying that I will become orphan. Can you be kind in that same fashion? Can you place that hand on my head in the same way that you have placed in the daughters of Muslim ibn Aqil? Sakinah says that, oh father, I have always slept on your chest. Will you allow me to sleep a bit? Husain takes this little girl in his lap, and Sakinah sleeps for a little while, and then she wakes up, and she says that, oh father, go, I will not stop you. Oh Sakinah, what had happened? She says, I had Rasulullah in the dream, I saw the grandfather, I saw Bibi Fatima in the dream, and they said, don't stop Husain anymore, we are waiting. And here Sakinah parts farewell from the father. It wasn't easy as he parts farewell, and you are all aware of the Masaeb of the day of Ashura, when Sakinah comes out with that burning shirt, when that tent burns, and she looks for the father and the chest of the father, and she goes towards the Qatlgah, towards the place where the Husain's body was, and then a hand is raised and says, Ilayya, come Sakinah, come to me. And that's where Sakinah was found. And Sakinah, pura Safar Sakinah बाप के लिए गिरिया करते रही, बाप को याद करते रही, और जब शाम पहुँचे तो वो वक्त भी आ गया, कोहराम मच गया शाम में. कब कोहराम मच गया? बच्ची मचल गई. कब बच्ची मचल गई? जब एक शख्स आगे बढ़कर कहता है, क्या मैं इस बच्ची को खरीद सकता हूँ? ये था शाम का दरबार कि सकीना की बोली लगाई जा रही थी. यहाँ पे ज़ैनब कहती है, सज्जाद आखिर देखो हो क्या रहा है. यहाँ पे उम्मे फिज़ा आगे बढ़ती है और कहती है कि ऐ शख्स, तू जानता है ये कौन है? ये सकीना बिनते हुसैन है. हुसैन वही नवासे रसूल है जो रसूल के शानों पे सवार हुआ करते थे. वही नवासे है जो सैयदा शबाब अहल जन्ना है. फिर उसके बाद वो वक्त भी आ गया कि ये छोटी बच्ची जब जिंदान में बाप को याद करते हुए सो जाती है, बाप को ख्वाब में देखती है और गिरिया करते हुए उठती है. जब गिरिया करते हुए उठती है तो तमाम बीबियाँ इस छोटी बच्ची का गिरिया देखकर गिरिया करने लगते हैं. जब गिरिया की आवाज़ बुलंद हुई, यजीद से कहा जाता है कि बीबियाँ गिरिया कर रहे हैं और फिर क्या किया जाए. इस वक्त यजीद कहता है कि आखिर हुआ क्या है. तो यहाँ पर कहते हैं कि बच्ची, हुसैन की बच्ची बाबा को ख्वाब में देखकर गिरिया कर रही है. तो यजीद कहता है कि हुसैन का सर ले जाया जाए. और ये सर जिंदान में जब ले जाया गया, आप तसव्वुर कीजिएगा किस तरह से जिंदान का दरवाज़ा खुला, बीबियाँ सब बंदी हैं और ये हुसैन के सर को एक हाथ से दूसरे हाथ देकर सकीना के पास ये सर ले जाया गया. जब सकीना ने इस सर को करीब से पकड़ा, लबों पर पोसा दिया और कहने लगी कि बाबा, आपको शहीद करने से पहले पानी दिया गया था क्या? अपनी मुसीबत नहीं सुनाई. बाबा से सवाल करने, बाबा अकबर कहाँ है, बाबा असगर कहाँ है. फिर उसके बाद, बाबा आपके जाने के बाद क़याम जला दिए गए, बाबा आपके जाने के बाद मुझे तमाचे मारे गए और मेरे गहवारे छीने गए. गुफ्तगू करते करते, बात करते करते बच्ची सर लेकर बैठ जाती है और खामोश हो जाती है. जब बच्ची खामोश हो जाती है, यहाँ पे ज़ैनब सज्जाद से कहते हैं कि सज्जाद ज़रा बेटा देखना सकीना क्यों खामोश है. सज्जाद ने सकीना का शाना हिलाया और कहने लगे, फुफी अम्मा इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन. वही जिंदान में छोटी सी खबर है सकीना, और वही कफन नहीं, गुस्ल नहीं, वही जला हुआ कुर्ता. और सज्जाद इस छोटे से जनाजे को तो पर जंजीर में उठाते हैं और वहाँ पे दफन करते हैं. और वो वक्त भी आ जाता है कि जब जिंदान से रिहाई मिलती है, एक एक बीबियाँ खुदाफिजी कर रही है सकीना के खबर से और एक बीबी छोड़ नहीं रही है. मेरा बाप, मैं जाकर आखिर करूँ क्या? मदीने में ना असगर है, ना हुसैन, ना सकीना. फिर उसके बाद ये जब काफिला करबला के मैदान में पहुंचा, आपकी गुफ्तगू को तमाम करता हूँ. जब ज़ैनब हुसैन के कब्र पे पहुंची तो सबसे पहले ज़ैनब ने कहा, भैया मुझे माफ करना. वो وہ جو امانت آپ نے مجھے سونپی تھی اس امانت کو میں زندان شام میں چھوڑ آئی ہوں بھیا. تو آپ کو یاد ہے جب میں اسی قتلگاہ میں آئی تھی, جب میں آپ کو دیکھی تھی تو میں نے پوچھا انت اخی, کیا آپ ہی میرے بھائی ہو, کیونکہ آپ اتنا خون آلودہ تھے. بھیا اگر آپ مجھے اب دیکھو گے تو مجھ سے پوچھو گے انت اختی, کہ تم ہی میرے بہن ہو, کیونکہ اتنے ظلم زینب پہ ڈھائے گئے. اللہ لعنت اللہ علی قوم الظالمین. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. ماتم يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
يا حسين
يا حسين
يا حسين
يا حسين
يا حسين
يا حسين